Hello, welcome to the All or Nothing podcast. Our official sponsors are KR Couriers and Transport Limited. This is a Northwest based courier company delivering all across the UK. They can assist in home moves and removals to large, heavy and bulky items, collections and drop-offs. Fast, safe and reliable deliveries. Please get in touch for a free quote. You'll find all the information within the description. Thank you. Hello everyone, hope we're all good. Big shout out to KR Couriers and Transport Limited and a big thank you to everyone who likes, shares, comments and subscribes to the All or Nothing podcast with myself, Billy Moore. And today's special guests are Whitney and Alicia Taylor. Now, you have got an incredible story to share, which is full of hardships, sadness. You've had to go through life knowing this happened to your mother. So your mother was Chantel Taylor, who was brutally murdered, but not just murdered, she was dismembered by a man called Stephen Wynne, a former soldier who was also an addict. Now, tell me a little bit about yourself so the audience gets to know who you are.
Yeah. So I'm Whitney, I'm 30 years old, and I was brought up by my nan and granddad, and I will explain the reasons why further in.
Yeah. Alicia?
I'm Alicia, and I'm 28, and I was also brought up with my nan and granddad.
Okay, so tell me why you're here. Tell me the story, because you yourself, Alicia, you got in touch with me regarding this story, and I was quite shocked when I read it. I was like, wow, what the fuck's going on here? This is a bit heavy, this. I've never heard of this before. So when I done a little bit of research and I looked it up and I thought, wow, this is too close to home, and this is not the normal type of murder, and especially from hearing from her daughters, you know what I mean? So tell me in your own words what happened.
Our mum went missing in 2004, and in 2005 we had the news that we got told she'd gone to heaven, but in reality she'd been murdered.
Yeah, wow. So this is like, you were how old?
God, I don't know. I know I was in year 6 in primary school.
Yeah.
Can't remember my age.
And you, Whitney?
I was 11.
So you were quite, you were at an age where, you're going to remember your mum quite a lot. You've been around her. So where, how did this come about with this murder? Tell us the story. Because, I'll tell you something now, right? You'll know better than anyone out there on social media, in the papers. You lived that experience. You have both been through it.
Yeah.
Right? You know the story back to front. No one else can say anything different, right? So you tell me, like, from your perspective, what it was like, how when you heard about it, the feelings you were going through, what it was like going through school, the stories that you found out later on, through your nan, and that the questions you're asked to ask. So you share that with us, please.
So how she was murdered.
Yeah, take your time. It's okay.
In 2004, my mum she was on drugs. She'd lost her brother a year beforehand and a breakdown of a marriage. She did suffer with depression. So she hit drugs, heroin.
But she didn't just lose her brother, she lost her brother to murder, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, she did. Her brother was murdered by his partner whilst he was asleep in bed. She did inject him with diamorphine. And when my mum and my uncle Stephen were growing up, they were close.
Yeah.
So to lose her brother, she weren't the same person. Do
you think this is what, drove her to take drugs and escape, reality? Because most addicts, there's a contributing factor that leads up to, drug taking. You don't just wake up and go, right, I'm going to have a party and try and kill myself on a daily basis.
Yeah.
There's suffering somewhere, along the line.
Yeah. And
it sounds like, that was she was close to her brother,
Yeah.
Drugs became a crutch.
A way to escape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of like led to a different path for her.
Yeah, it did. She'd gone out one night in 2004, March, and she'd gone to an all-night garage on Price Street in Birkenhead, and she'd gone there to buy some cigarettes, and the guy, when my nan went to the garage to see the man who served her, he said, "Oh, I remember serving the lady, yeah." He said she stepped off the forecourt and got into a car, and she was never seen again from that point. It's alleged she met up with a man called Stephen Wynne, who she did know from going through secondary school with. She went back to his house, and he was also on drugs, so I think there was drug taken from what he said. And he said she was trying to steal drugs from him in a dark room, and he said that she was robbing the heroin and he weren't going to stand for that, so he struck her in the side of the neck with a meat cleaver.
Yeah.
And then she dropped at the foot of the bed, from his words.
Yeah.
But it is alleged that he did have help on the dismembering of my mum's body. A man was arrested in June this year, a man called David Cottrell. It was alleged that he did help with the dismemberment and the hiding of the body parts. He has been released on bail, pending for further inquiries.
Okay, so he's being arrested. So there was a second assailant allegedly involved in this murder, because, it's a sick way to, killing someone, is a terrible act. But to actually dismember them, you're actually, you're planning that.
Yeah.
You're calculating it. I'm going to kill someone and go, okay, hang on a minute, I just want to get as far away as possible from that body. I don't want to chop it up.
Yeah.
And put
then
it somewhere.
Try and dispose.
Yeah, but it wasn't, so from what I've heard, you mentioned that it was 18 months before anyone even found out she was dead. So for 18 months, you're an 11-year-old girl in
starting my first year in high school.
First year in high school. You're 6, 7 years old by this time, right? You've got no idea where your mum is. Did you just think she's got off and left us and she hasn't come back, or did you have some kind of feeling or suspicion of some sort?
Not really, no, because before the year of 2004, we were already living with my dad's mum and dad, my nan and granddad. So there was no suspicions that we didn't. It weren't normal for us for her to just turn up and be like, "Hi kids." Yeah. That weren't normal, because we were getting already brought up by my nan and granddad. And then our brother was getting brought up by our mum's mum. So I wouldn't say there was any suspicion or where is she. There was none of that, because
it's just normal behaviour.
Yeah.
Because when you're in addiction, and the most important thing, in your life at that time is drugs and getting more. And for me, that was, I'll speak about my experience with it. It's like, when I was using, there was nothing more important than using my drugs. My family, they became second best. Never went near them, didn't want to know them.
Yeah.
It was only when I was arrested and I come to my senses, then I thought, fucking hell, what am I missing out on here? So it's like, I feel for your mum at the time, because she'd have been going through her own demons and struggling.
Yeah.
But to get picked up in this car and then taken somewhere, attacked over an argument that's broke out over drugs, because addicts and drugs, when drugs go missing, there's going to be chaos, and dramas and murders. People are fucking fighting over a fucking pipe, know what I mean, and killing each other over whatever. But to do that, that's it. That's something. So when did you actually find out what had happened?
I reckon I would have been about 14, because we started seeing newspaper articles like killer chopped off Chantel's head, and it would be a picture of my mum and my nanny Jean. So we'd see that on a regular basis. It was always in the papers and in magazines, and we kept saying to my nan and granddad, "Well, what happened?" And they were like, "Oh, she's gone to heaven." And then they kept saying it, and then in the end it was, no, what actually happened? What happened to her? Because obviously we didn't pick up the newspaper articles and go flicking through and read it ourselves. We wanted to know from my nan and granddad what happened.
Yeah, and did they share that information with you?
Yeah, they did tell us in the end what actually happened to her. and my granddad had kept a carrier bag which was full of newspapers and magazines from when they'd get posted through the door, like the Whittle Globe would come through the door, and our mum would be on front page, so we'd quickly swipe it up so we wouldn't see and just put it aside and keep it away. But the day we asked, we wanted the truth, he handed us the bag and said, I haven't got it in my heart to tell you. He said, you have to just read that.
Yeah.
So we did.
So he's doing his best, both of them, to protect you.
Yeah.
That's your nan. And you've got to understand that their daughter has been, you know, and his son have both been murdered. That is like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, your nan and your granddad have had to go through life, you know, with knowing that the son was murdered and that the daughter, it's not normal. It's not a normal family kind of upbringing, isn't it?
No.
And especially for, you know, so you know, hats off to your nan and granddad. They must be so strong and brave to kind of like, you know, bring you up at the same time, having to protect you, you know, to keep you safe and safeguard you from, you know, anything that's going to harm you. But obviously, the older you get, the more of a need to know what's happened, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what was like school life like? Because you mentioned it to me that it was like, there's a lot of horrible kids in school.
They'd skirt and laugh and, oh, at least we've got a mum. You'd have all that parents' evening, they'd be like, oh, you're bringing your nan and granddad. And it wouldn't be funny, but they'd just find it funny. I did think that starting at high school was going to be a fresh start for me, but it wasn't.
No.
What
did you have to, what was you subjected to in high school? You know, verbal abuse?
Verbal abuse, yeah.
Weren't just that though, it was just like walking around thinking like everybody knew and getting treated different, like, oh, that's the girl whose mum was murdered and stuff like that. So it was horrible.
How was that making you feel? Was you quite angry? Did it change you? You know, the way you behave towards others? Was you isolating? Was you separating yourself? Was you just looking? Was you mistrusting people? Because you must have went through school thinking, I can't trust him, I can't trust her, she's fucking talking about me, what's going on here?
I was quite naughty in school, and the teachers then just put it down to, well, because the trauma I've gone through as a kid. So again, I was treated different, not like every other kid in the school.
Yeah, well, obviously you've gone through a lot of trauma, you know, it's like, it's a lot to take on board at a young age and then have to go through school. You know, no wonder you're going to act out and behave. You know, and it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely.
because you're trying to avoid, you know, facing reality. You know, when these kids say, "Oh, where's you know, his parents even bringing you in," you know what I mean? That's not nice, you know, to listen to.
No.
How did you cope with that yourself, Whitney? What did you do to get through all that?
Just said, oh, shut up, and just I'd walk away.
No.
I just thought, you can say all you please, I'm not bothered.
You just rose.
You sort of get immune to it, you get used to it. So I was just like, oh yeah, okay, whatever, and walk away.
Yeah. So this guy, Steve Wynne, who was arrested and alleged that he dismembered your mum without any evidence, by the way, right? Because there was no body ever found.
Just a shin bone.
Just a shin bone. So he's. You tell me how he's been arrested, because we spoke about this, and it's actual factual documentation in the news anyway, so it's not new.
Yeah.
You know, so for our audience who don't know, tell us how he got arrested.
He had burnt down a mosque on Borough Road. He'd gone and bought petrol from the garage.
He burnt it down.
Walked along, yes, and it was believed he thought that the building was empty, but I'm sure there was someone in there. So set it alight. The police turn up. This was just after the London 7/7 bombings. I think he left evidence there where they were able to trace back to Stephen Wynne himself. They went to his house, and on searching the house, they'd found a poem about, it was a 14-page long poem that he'd wrote about his time in the army, his time when he come out, and then in there on 4 lines was how he'd taken care of a junkie whore prostitute, and that she was no longer in this world. And they questioned him and said, what's that? And he said, yeah, I done it. I killed the woman you're looking for.
Wow, so he's just openly admitted, right? And he could have, you know as well as me, he could have like denied any knowledge of it and still been walking the streets today. You know, obviously he would have been away for the burning of the mosque, but the murder. So for him to admit that, he must have been, you know, mentally unstable.
Or couldn't live with the guilt.
Or couldn't live with the guilt. What's your thoughts? What do you think? Do you think it was the guilt, or do you think he was mentally unstable?
I don't think he was mentally unstable, no. I think he possibly did want to get caught, and that's why he might have left the evidence at the mosque to be traced back to himself. But then, why go and burn the mosque? Why not just go to the police station and say, it was me, I've killed that lady? Instead, he's gone and burned down a mosque, left evidence in the hopes that the police will turn up at his house.
Yeah, did he have a criminal history? Was it just a couple of offences?
I believe it was just a couple of offences that he'd had.
So he wasn't an habitual or a recidivist. He hadn't been in and out of prison, had he? He was in the army.
Yeah.
You know, so he was disciplined. He was in the forces. He's obviously, you know, something was snapped within him.
Yeah.
And he's used drugs for whatever reason. And this is what he's come to. He's succumbed to killing someone, and your mum.
Yeah.
You know, he's left not only you, Alicia, but your Joe, your younger brother. You know, without a mum, he's robbed you of a mother. Did you think he knew he had? Obviously, you know, Chantel, you know that she's got 3 kids.
Yeah.
You know, because you said, didn't he go to school?
He would have seen all the missing posters and that round town, and you know, I think my nan was on the news or something around that time, putting out that she was missing, so he would have known she had 3 kids. Because it's always been said from the start. So,
And I've seen something recently about Chantel's law. Tell us a little bit about that. What's this in regards of?
Come
on, Whitney.
Why is it always me? It was set up because he's allowed to apply for parole. So, my nan set up a Chantel's law in the hopes of, in future, any murderer is to go on and murder someone and not release where their body is or the body parts aren't found, that they shouldn't be eligible for open prisons and heading up for parole, because their families had no justice. You've stole someone from a family and their families had no justice. So this is a law that will be hopefully put a stop to them withholding information, taking that control back away from them.
So he's actually alleged to the police that he's dismembered, you know, Chantel. And you were telling me that he said he put her in a rucksack.
Put some of her body parts into a rucksack and walked to Royden Park and
Bidston
Tip, yeah. He said that some of the parts were in Royden Park, which my nan went with the police to Royden Park and they searched the areas, he said, and there was nothing ever found. And obviously at Bidston Tip you wouldn't be able to find anything.
No. Is that just like unfindable?
Yeah, it's where everyone goes for all the household stuff away.
Okay. So there'd been an extensive search in there, wouldn't it? And there was nothing found.
No.
Okay, and he's actually sat down and interviewed this guy and said this stuff. He's put pieces of it in a rucksack and he's marched to Royden Park and Bidston Tip, and you know, he's disposed of her. You know, and he never found any body parts in those locations. But you did say they found one body part, didn't you?
Yeah, shin bone. That was in his house in the back?
I've no idea where it was.
I'm sure my nan meant to mention that it was in his back garden, a piece of the shin bone, along with blooded clothing and a concrete block where he put the meat cleaver that he'd used and other kitchen weapons.
So was the weapons, were they recovered?
Yeah.
From this breeze block?
Yeah.
This concrete block that he put them in?
Yeah.
He was getting rid of them, was he? Well, he hadn't got rid of them for over 18 months, but he was still there. Yeah. And a shin bone, did he take DNA from that to...
Yeah, but they also found a lot of my mum's DNA around his house. Obviously, once he'd confessed that he'd done it, they went in and stripped his house. He had redecorated all his house as well.
Okay.
So they ripped up carpets and blood had soaked through to the floorboard. So they were able to get blood from there at the foot of the bed, that was. Also in the bathroom, behind the bathroom tiles, they got blood from there as well.
Okay, so he was banged to rights when it comes to he's
The DNA was all over the house.
he hasn't even gone through a trial. He's just threw his hands in as he gone guilty, because 9 times out of 10, people go and do are not guilty and go for manslaughter or diminished responsibility. What was his case?
He went and he did get 21 years, and then he appealed against that.
So did he get a life sentence with a tariff of 21? That would have been it, wouldn't it? So he's been given life.
Yeah, with a 21-year tariff.
And the judge who's presiding over that case went, okay, I'm giving you 21 years, that's your tariff. You've got to serve 21 years before you can go for parole.
Yeah.
Right, so that's for murder, dismemberment, and also the burning down of a mosque.
Yeah, arson.
Okay, so he's got 21 years. What happened there? Something changed, didn't it?
Yeah, he appealed against that decision, and it was then later reduced to 18 years, and that also remains for the murder, dismemberment, and the arson.
So why 18 years? What was the justification? What reason did they give? Oh, the sentence is too severe.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're going to reduce it by 3 years.
Yeah.
Give you 18. Is that the reason? Is that the reality? So what was his mitigating circumstances? That he was under the influence of narcotics. He's acted out.
He didn't remember.
He didn't remember.
He said he didn't remember what happened.
Okay.
He doesn't remember chopping her in the neck. He doesn't remember getting rid of any body parts. Nothing.
Well, if he doesn't remember chopping it in the neck, why has he stated that he has chopped it in the neck? That's the baffling question, isn't it? It's like, I don't remember, but this is what's happened. I don't remember, but I've put it in a rucksack and dispersed of it in 2 different locations. I don't remember, but I put the weapons in a breeze block. I
don't remember. I wake up the next day and there's blood all over my house. So I know what I'll do. I won't ring the police and say I've blacked out, something's happened in my house. I'll just cover my tracks instead.
I think it's just the usual backstory. When someone gets arrested, they go into denial. They go into, it wasn't me. I can't remember. There's someone else's fault. Can't accept responsibility. Not accountable for your behaviour. And for me, I was only arrested for a lot of petty things, but it was like, hands up. I know I've done it. I can remember it. Even when I was at my worst using, I could still recall brief moments of what I'd done. So I'm pretty sure I'd remember like killing someone and dismembering them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wake up and go, oh, what's happening here? Oh, I've got to get rid of that head now. You know what I mean? I've got to get rid of that body. It's not something that, so yeah, so he's it's bizarre, isn't it? 18 years now. So he's been given 18 years, and this is in 2004. So 2004, what's that give us now? What are we on now?
23.
So 23, so that's what? How many years is that? 18 years now? So he's up for release?
As such, yeah.
As such?
He applied for parole, which was denied because he'd only been in the open prison for 3 to 4 weeks.
No, he's definitely not getting.
For parole.
He's definitely not. He's got to reintegrate.
Yeah.
This is the process. I know the court process. I mentioned this to you, a little bit ago. It's about, especially a cat D, wherever he is, because he's got to reintegrate in society. He's going to have to get ROTLs, which is released on temporary license. He's going to have to.
He's doing that now. He's
been
released on temporary license.
So yeah, he'll have his ROTL, which he'll be out, and they'll be integrating him into the community, and he'll be as he give you any closure, any any apologies? Is any reasons? There's nothing.
Nothing.
No.
Since the day he's gone behind bars, we've heard nothing from him. Nothing. And I don't even think it would make me feel any different if I did hear anything from him. I still hate him.
Yeah.
He still stole something from me. Took it upon himself to steal. A family member or mum.
Yeah.
So no. He could tell me he's sorry till he's blue in the face. It would mean absolutely nothing.
And what's your biggest fear with this guy getting released?
Well, I feel like he shouldn't be released because for what he done. he shouldn't be released. But do I think he's going to be trustworthy coming back onto the streets? No. No. Because if you can do that to someone, God only knows what else you could do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm only speaking from like an experience of an inmate myself, and you know, going through the system and feeling guilt and shame and having to kind of accept it, but not being able to have the opportunity to speak to my victims and go, oh, look, I apologise. Because sometimes we can say something to someone and it might just harm them more than, you know, anything.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm obviously I'm an intermediate on this, right? So, you know, there's a thin line here. Could he be in a position where he goes, okay, I've done this, I've gone through my prison sentence, I'm full of shame, I can't face the family? Because I don't think I'd want to face the wrath of someone's family if I'd have stole a family member. And have them, I would not know what to do. So there could be that side, which, you know, it might be so, it might not be so. But at the end of the day, you know, you're here on a podcast. He may listen to this, he may not. You know, is he willing to make amends in some way, no matter how, you know, small, accept responsibility, which he's saying he has or he hasn't, I don't know. It's like diminished, and it's like, I can't remember. But, you know, I did do this. So it's a fucking catch-22 with it, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
You know, you just want a bit of, you want some closure, some ending, some solace.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, justified, you're angry, both of you.
Yeah.
And the rest of your family.
Yeah.
He's on these release on temporary license. He's obviously not going to be getting, he's going to be on a life license. So, you know, his life is going to be monitored. He's going to be mapped out. He's going to have to go and speak to probation for the rest of his life on this license. That's what it is. He's going to be on hostels when he gets out. He's not going to be moving into, you know, some apartment. That's not the case. You know, there's a lot of protocols put in place for especially with someone who's got like that kind of history. But then again,
but it's wrong, because then look at all the help he gets once he's out. Like, we got no help, but yet they'll bend heaven and earth for him for when he comes out. All the protection, the money that it'll cost to keep him safe. But yet when our mum was murdered by his hands, we got no help.
You got no, like...
Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
No counselling, no...
My nan and granddad set up some counselling, but...
That was, like, off their back. Like, they done that. That weren't, like, any help from anyone else. They done that.
Have you ever thought about, like, I know it's a big ask, like, but have you ever thought about, like, going into to schools and colleges and universities and sharing your experience, you know, going forward? Because I know your nan, she does a lot of this, doesn't she? She stands up for violent crimes and, you know, Chantel's law, and she's you know, she's standing up for something because she doesn't want to fall for anything. You know, something's happened really that's impacted her life. You know, as well as the rest of the family, and she's not tolerating, you know, this stuff anymore. So I mean, I'm going to say this because I watched The Long Shadow the other day, which was about the Yorkshire Ripper, and what reminded me of that story was, like, not the comparisons, but it was just in a sense there was 4 young kids whose mum had been murdered by this guy. They claimed she was a prostitute. So he'd killed her, and he'd left these 4 young kids. And one of the, you know, at the end of the series, you know, you could see like these 4 young kids are waiting for the mum to come home. It's fucking so sad. You know what I mean? You know, and at the end of the series, one of the young boys, the youngest boy out of them all, he became like a massive whaled kind of public speaker. You know, motivational talker on like the violent crimes and the murders that happened, and, you know, especially to his mum, you know, which I don't know, probably that's how he copes, you know. But how do you cope now, day to day in life? What do you do? How has it affected you, especially you, Alicia, as well as Whitney? How has it affected both of you? Is it like today? I
mean, it's just been hard growing up. Obviously not having her with us every Christmas and Mother's Day and birthdays. It's, you know, it's been hard, but just got to get by.
yeah, it's going to be really, really difficult. I can't even imagine, you know what I mean? It's heartbreaking. And now, how about yourself, Whitney? You've got a couple of kids now as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
It's horrendous. They say over time it gets easier. It never does. Never. It's horrible. But it's because it's horrible, but there's nothing we can do.
You're sitting here almost 19 years later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still
Fighting against it.
Still fighting against it. So your whole childhood and teenage years leading into your adult life has kind of like just being affected.
Yeah.
This has been something that's like just been in front of you, like a big brick wall that you've had to kind of like, you know, get through. You know, and obviously it's still upsetting, Alicia. Yeah, give you a moment. And I was thinking about yourself and your 2 kids, and could you imagine sitting with your 2 kids and thinking, how could they live without me?
Yeah.
You know, what would they go through?
I look at them now, and when we sort of had like a fear. I always thought me and Alicia, when we turned around 27, 28, it was like, oh, our mum was this age,
Cursed. Yeah.
It's like those years were cursed, and once we've stepped over past them years, it's a bit more like a sigh of relief, like, oh, we're okay. But it's mad how you think.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to think like that, should we?
No, and then I look at my kids now thinking, like, my mum was gone, and we were those sort of ages, and our mum weren't here.
Yeah.
Mad.
So even like heading up into your early mid-20s, you had this fear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's so sad.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, you know, I had, you know, I kind of admire the pair of you know, for coming on and sharing, you know, this story. It's not the norm, is it?
No.
You know.
It's mad because you say, like, we had a brick wall thrown there from when our mum had been murdered, but we still had a good childhood. We did, didn't we? Even now, like, thinking of some of the memories, like, it's not funny. It's funny now when we look back, and like me and my sister and my brother laugh about it, but I was attacked by a German Shepherd at a shop, but the man was screaming. I think it was an off-duty German Shepherd, and he was with a copper. Anyway, I don't know how it happened. I was only really young, about 5 or 6, and my mum got a payout because the dog had like ripped all the top of my legs open, and then we just remember like all these cardboard boxes coming in through the house, and we were like, what's this? And it was big swing sets and sand pits, and I always remember like Tanisha, my cousin, and Dylan coming round with me and Alicia and my brother in the garden and just singing these funny songs about big spiders because the grass was dead long, and Alicia and Tanisha swinging on seesaws and stuff. So we did have really good memories.
And when we'd go up to my nan and granddad's, and my mum and dad would have a drink with them, and even like to the point when our mum was taken, like we still had a good upbringing. I think nan and granddad done like dead well with us, didn't they? Yeah. Like they done the best they could, and
we never.
That was hard for them because they brought all their kids up, and then obviously got landed with me and Whitney then. Yeah,
when they thought they were gonna, their kids had grown up, moved out, me and Alicia turn up at the door. But even my granddad says now, like, he'd never change it, never. He said obviously he wishes our mum was here and we could have had a normal upbringing as such. He said, but because
your nan and granddad, they must have been what, in the 50s at the time, the very, you know, when you were very young as well. So, you know, how old's your nan and granddad now? How old's Jean? How are you, Jean?
Well, we didn't get brought up with me mum's mum.
Yeah.
Joseph got brought up
with Nanny Jean.
So we were with me dad's parents, Nanny Marie and Grandad Paul, but my nan's passed away and my granddad's about 70 now, isn't he?
72, yeah. I was just up there this morning tormenting him.
What you have shared has been, you know, it's quite emotional, to be fair. I've listened to it and I've like, it kind of touched me, you know, like it's kind of reached in to how I feel, and that it's tapped into like the thoughts that I have around my kids as well, and think, you know what, how would they going through life, you know, just dying, you know, is enough, but having to to go through it that way is even horrendous. And like you've gone through life, and it's nice that you've had nice memories. That's made me like smile, because it's like it hasn't just been you've heard this story, you've had this mum that you didn't know. She's been a good, loving, caring mum.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah,
she really was.
Yeah. And she didn't deserve.
Not even our mum didn't deserve it. Like, no one deserves to be murdered in the way she was. Not just our mum, anyone. It's horrific. Horrific.
And I know you're angry, right? And like I've said, it's justified. But what would you, because we're coming to the end now, and I want to know, what would you want out of this? What would you want for this Stephen Wynne? What is it that, do you think he could ever come round and make amends in any way? Which I don't think that's going to work, like you've said.
I don't think that would work. But I don't know. Would I feel different if I had some correspondence from him? Would I maybe then feel different about him reaching out? Possibly. But I don't know, because I don't think he ever would.
But you wanted to know where your mum was. That's it. You want
he
somewhere.
He wanted to know, and he wanted
closure.
to remain with that control. That's what he wanted.
Which is like, to be fair, maybe he doesn't know himself. You know what I mean? If he's saying he's that blacked out, but like we said before, I think you would when you woke up. You're not that. Blacked out to not remember what you've done.
Yeah.
So yeah, as an ending, what closure would you like?
Well, I mean, I think he's obviously gonna get out. I think just going from this, the petition that's going on at the minute, if we could put a stop to people like having that control and not saying where the body is, if they're not able to apply for parole or go to an open prison. I think that would be a good thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
because this man served his sentence and he's due for release. There's no stopping that.
Yeah,
you know as well as me. We're not here to say, okay, we're protesting about him getting out, because that's not the case. He's getting out. He's getting released. He will be on the streets. He'll be on the streets, and that's how it is, right? But what you want to draw a line, right? It's like, okay, we can't do nothing about that. But going forward, we'd like to put a full stop on people who kill members of or whatever members of the community and not disclose where the body is. And I said to you, I remember having a podcast, and I'll send you the link of a woman and a son who came on, and the mum who had a chat with, her dad killed her mother. Right, so his dad killed his own daughter. Didn't tell her where the body was. Oh, so her dad, killed his wife. Right, so his mum and dad were together. He killed his wife. Didn't tell her where his body was for years. She was on missing. He went to jail. He was the only person. Right, it was all over the Netflix and the telly. He was the only person to get sentenced without the finding of a body and without any admission of guilt. You know what I mean? Which was, I'll send you the link and have a look at that. But yeah, so that's one. That's the only one I know that's been arrested and put in prison for that kind of crime. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there's more out there, and you'd like to put an end to that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we finish? Is there anything that's on your mind?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so Alicia Whitney, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all your details within the description, and if anyone wants to contact you and get involved in Chantel's law or has any information that could benefit you or do anything, then I'll do that. And once again, thanks, for both of you coming on. Appreciate that.
It's okay. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us again.
Again.
Thank
Thank you.